What we do in gender studies is not just reduce gender to what psychologists might call individual differences, but rather thinking about gender. And that's not women and man, but gender as a social form, something that kind of infuses itself into virtually all aspects of social life.
All right, well, that's a pretty weak definition of gender, if you ask me. Hello and welcome back. Thank you for stopping by. I do appreciate everybody supporting my work and my channel. Please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. Make sure that you're still subscribed because YouTube does unsubscribe people every single day. We have another video here about Matt Walsh's What is a Woman documentary. Another review. He does this interview with this professor from the University of Tennessee. And what he just said there was like perfectly fine if you're talking about cultural norms. You're talking about like, okay, how do men and women present themselves in your culture? What positions do men and women hold in your culture? What sorts of jobs do they do, et cetera, et cetera? What sorts of behaviors do they exhibit? All that stuff. That's great. You want to study that as a sociologist, maybe even as a psychologist? Okay. How useful is that for a career? Probably not very. I mean, anthropology, sociology, those are things that we don't need a lot of people to do that type of work in the world. And anthropology is persistently on the list of worst degrees to get. It's been on that list for like 50 years because there's just not very many jobs for anthropologists to do, in spite of what some people might claim. Let's get back to the interview here and see what Matt has to say in response to what the professor just said.
Let's talk about that then. I guess we should start with, we've got gender and sex, right?
Yeah.
What's the difference between the two? Is there a difference?
I saw that.
Before we go on, I just want to point out that this professor here, he resembles Jeffrey Dahmer an awful lot, doesn't he? It's kind of scary. If you don't know who Jeffrey Dahmer is, he is he killed a bunch of people and ate them. So yeah, kind of creepy.
In your questions, and I thought, my goodness, this is what we spend an entire semester kind of thinking through. But what we
You spend an entire semester thinking through what is the difference between sex and gender? That's ridiculous. What he's saying, what he's admitting, is what these colleges are doing, is arguing semantics. Really? You're going to argue semantics? Can't we just say, okay, this is the definition? Oh man, these people, that's all that they have, though. That's all that these progressive woke idiots have, is semantics at this point.
We tend to think about in the social sciences today is that sex refers to a set of biological characteristics and gender is a social construct or category.
Okay, that being said, then I go back to what I said in the beginning of the video. You should be focusing on what role women play in society, what role men play in society. There you go, you're studying anthropology. Good job.
What I think is often misleading about that characterization is allowed to be sort of messy and complicated. But in that framing, when you split them up into these wholly discrete constructs, studies scholars, and really more specifically people who study gender and sex, we're not talking about sexuality right now. In the kind of academic universe that I travel in is that we see how deeply gendered ideas, cultural ideas about masculinity and femininity, maleness and femaleness, both in humans and in lots of other animals.
Well, that was a whole lot of word salad. I'm guessing that's why they kind of fast-forwarded. They skipped over a bunch of what he was saying, just a bunch of crap. So let's see what Matt has to say in response to that.
So are gender and sex two different things, or?
Well, I think that they both are and they aren't. I'm comfortable saying that gender and sex are two different constructs, but they're deeply intertwined with each other.
We're talking about gender and sex, and there's a lot of controversies there. If we're talking about a trans woman has all of the male physical characteristics, so would that not be a male then? Couldn't we plainly say this person is a male?
Well, I guess it's like, why are you asking the question? I think I want to understand sort of why that's so important. So if someone
Notice how he didn't answer the question that Matt just asked. This is going to be important moving forward in this interview.
tells
Just
you
to sort of understand reality, you know?
Well, I mean, I think when someone tells you who they are, you should believe them. So if a person says
I'm a porcupine. Yay! Everybody believe me. I'm a porcupine.
that they're a woman or they're a man, then that's them telling you their gender is. I'm not so sure what social interactions would have to do with maleness or femaleness that would
Well,
be.
I'm not even.
Okay, so he just admitted right there by saying there's no social interactions that require sex or gender. He just admitted that there's no difference between the two, that we shouldn't be focusing on any difference between the two, and you shouldn't be treating anybody any differently than you would treat anybody else, so that everybody is exactly the same. That's Marxism. That's the erasure of individuality, et cetera, et cetera. The fact of the matter is if I'm talking to you, then I'm going to have a certain approach based on your sex. I have to in this country. There used to be a time when that wasn't necessarily the case, maybe, but today you have to be very careful with how you talk to people, especially women in America.
Talk about social context. I'm just trying to start by getting to the truth,
Yeah, I mean, I'm really uncomfortable with that language of like getting to the truth. Again, in social life.
Why is that uncomfortable?
Because it sounds actually deeply transphobic to me. And if you keep probing, we're going to stop the interview.
So he just said that the truth is transphobic, admitting that his entire ideology is a lie. That this entire whole, look, you just go ahead and, rearrange your reproductive organs, it's fine. Your truth is the only truth that matters. He just admitted that there's no such thing as truth and it doesn't matter, and that all of this is a lie.
If I probe about what the truth is?
You keep invoking the word truth, which is condescending and rude.
Oh, no. Truth is condescending and rude. Yes, you're right. You know what? I've often been told, I've run into this situation in my life, just ran headlong right into this situation here. The truth hurts. I don't pull any punches. I just tell people how it is. And it gets me into trouble because people don't want to hear the truth. There's the truth and then there's the truth. I hear that a lot. Yeah, okay, you want me to sugarcoat everything and be like super, super nice. Like, I'm just straightforward tell you, like, look, this is how it is. I'm not trying to be mean to you. This is just how it is. I'm not going to call you names. I'm not going to insult you, put down your intelligence or anything like that. But I'm going to tell you, matter of factly, men have a wiener, women don't have a wiener. That's how it works. That's just the reality we live in. People will get offended by that stuff. People get offended so easily, though, these days. It's just ridiculous.
I'm saying to you...
How is the word truth condescending and rude?
Why don't you tell me what your truth is? And you're walking on 30 seconds more of thin ice before I get up.
What my truth is? Well, I don't think I really have a truth. I think that there's just the truth, like the reality. And so we should begin by trying to figure out what the reality is.
I think that's a reasonable point to start from. What is real and what is not, and then we'll move forward from there.
Uh-huh. And why are you concerned with when someone else tells you that they're a man, or even if they use the word male, why are you concerned with not believing them?
See, there he goes. He's asking a question instead of responding to Matt's inquiry. See, he's going to start asking the questions now.
Well, you keep bringing it back to, how do you respond in a social situation? But,
that's what I do. I'm a social scientist.
Well, right, but we're in a university. This is a place of understanding truth, isn't it? Or
absolutely. We pursue truth, and I'm a social scientist, and that's what I do.
But you just said the truth is transphobic.
That you would say, that if you're saying the truth is that I get to say, you're not a man, show me your genitalia, that's transphobic.
No, I don't want to see anybody's genitalia. I just mean someone can make a statement about themselves that could be untrue. Like, for example, if I were to say that I'm a black man, would you accept that, or would you be skeptical?
Are you black? Are you African American? Or are you bright red?
He asks another question, so he can't answer a question. That's the thing, is that points to obfuscation of the issue. This is sort of a dance with them, a game. They just want to, we're just throwing words back and forth. Nothing actually means anything. This whole interview is proving that Matt is 100% right in this whole construct is just a construct. It's an ideation. So that's the funny thing. See, I used to be on the left a lot more so than I am now, and they went bonkers, bananas. I used to be all like, oh yeah, equal rights for everybody. That's cool, great. Trickle-down economics doesn't work. It's clear that it doesn't work. I don't know if there's a better system, but trickle-down economics is not really solving our problems here. So there's all these different things I could look to and say, okay, well, I'm more comfortable being on the left than I am being on the right. But now with this is a religion. And another thing was me being non-religious. The right is religious, the left is not. But this is a new religion. This is a left religion. It's an ideology. Look, your truth, it doesn't matter. It's whatever your truth is. That's religion. There is no truth but what you feel. That's religion, right? religion exists without evidence. Religion is based on faith. There's a lot of work in the last 20, 30, 40 years to kind of say, look, we have evidence that my religion is true, et cetera, or that God is real, all these different things. But again, there's more than one type of religion. Some religions don't focus as heavily on God as other religions do. So, yeah, there's different ways of thinking about this, but that means that that's a religion. That's not the truth. That's not factual. Back to the interview.
Rachel?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, you don't look that, and I don't think it doesn't sound like that's a genuine statement of who you are.
Okay, so that's my point. I could make a statement about who I am that's incorrect.
Of course, I think it's well established that human beings can lie, yes.
Or not even lie. I mean, I could just be mistaken.
Yeah.
Who would have thunk that maybe a person who feels like they're in the wrong body is mistaken?
Where are you going?
I guess this all comes back, it all comes down to really one question. Especially women, gender and sexuality studies. So what is a woman?
Why do you ask that question?
There you go, see? He doesn't want to answer the question.
I just really like to know.
What do you think the answer to that question is?
Again, he's asking the questions. It's not the other way around like it's supposed to be.
Well, I'm asking. That's why I came to a college professor who's this is what you do.
What other kinds of answers have you gotten?
Again, another question. He doesn't want to answer the question. He wants to make up reality that is going to fit with his mind and Matt Walsh's mind. He can't speak to what is the truth because he doesn't have the truth. Matt Walsh is seeking a true answer. What do we see objectively? What can we test? What can we measure? And he wants to say that a woman is this nebulous thing.
A lot of like this where you're not answering, and I've gotten a lot of that. So
I think it's interesting that you say that some of the people you've interviewed have been reluctant to answer it, and I think that has a lot to do with the questions that preceded it and the way that you've conducted yourself in the interview.
How have I conducted myself?
How do you think you've conducted yourself?
Again, another question he can't answer because he knows he doesn't have a leg to stand on.
You just really don't want to answer the questions, do you?
I came today very willing and enthusiastic about answering questions about women's and gender sexuality studies, which is the work that I do.
You wanted to answer questions about women's studies, and so shouldn't the first answer you should be able to provide is what exactly is a woman?
Well, for me, it's actually a really simple answer, and that's a person who identifies as a woman.
But what are they identifying as?
As a woman.
But what is that?
As a woman.
Do you know what a circular definition is?
It's right there. His definition is a woman is a person who identifies as a woman. That's a circular definition. It's like saying, I'm a human. How do you know? Because I identify as a human. Well, I can't say a human is anybody who identifies as a human. What if we go out and we actually do meet intelligent aliens? Say they're called gleebaboos. And we go, hey, look, there's a gleebaboo. And that gleebaboo says, no, I'm a human. Oh, okay, it's okay because you identify as a human, so therefore you are one. No, that's not how it works. Matt is not buying into his ideology. This is so self-evident to him that he can't understand that how anybody would question him. The fact of the matter is, what he thinks is a woman is a person who identifies as an adult human female, but he can't say that a woman is an adult human female.
I do.
It's sort of like what you're doing right now, where a woman is a woman.
Mm-hmm. Well, because you're seeking what we would call in my field of work an essentialist definition of gender. I think it sounds like you would like me to give you a set of biological or cultural characteristics that are associated with one gender or the other.
I'm not seeking any type of definition. I'm just seeking a definition.
Yeah, and I gave you one.
No, you gave him a circular definition, which is not a definition. You can't say a cup is a cup. That doesn't tell me anything about a cup. There's another little blurb that he has at the end. I'm going to play that, and we can talk about that too.
Can you define the word woman without using the word woman?
I mean, it's actually kind of like, it's a curious question, but I.
How pathetic. A professor of women's studies cannot give a definition of woman without using the word woman in the definition. This is so mind-numbingly infuriating. You know, this is what you people are paying, not you necessarily watching this video, you probably watching this video know better, but people paying money to go to these institutions and they're forced to take these sorts of classes. It is ridiculous. I'm not even allowed to give my students truth in the classroom. I have to be very, 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 very nebulous about everything. Everything has to be kind of flowy and oh yeah, that's cool that way, and it could be any another different way, and blah, 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 and all these different things. The truth is truth. There are facts, and this whole belief that we have these days of like, oh, it's, you know, there's a lot of gray out there. It's a gray area. There's a lot of, no, most things are black and white in the world. That's just how it is. I know it seems like there's a lot of gray. It seems like there's a lot more gray than there actually is, and that is because we as humans are very finite, and we cannot see the entire picture. If you could see more, there would seem like there was more black and white in the world. But yeah, I wanted to play this as part of my series of reviews I'm going to do on this documentary. It was a fun movie. If you haven't seen it, you might want to check it out. But hey, you know, I'm going to hit the high points here on YouTube anyway, so maybe you don't need to check it out. Anyway, please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. That's all I have for this time, and I will see you in the next video.